Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dogs and cats, elves and zebras, gypsies and the she. Do I have to have such a long introduction? So this is a wolf video. I don't make many wolf videos. I love wolves. I would love to not just see a wolf in the wild. I want to get up close and personal with some wolves. I would love to go to the International Wolf Center in Ely, Minnesota, or Eli, Minnesota. I don't know how they pronounce it. I had a friend in trade school who his last name was spelled the same, but he pronounced it differently. So I get the two pronunciations confused. So, and you can take this for whatever it's worth, okay? You can take it for whatever it's worth. So, this is a little story about my life that people don't know about. And I'm going to tell you about it now so you will know about it. Most of you think that, I've lived in Spain and Germany and Okinawa, the United States. I visited all these wonderful countries that, beyond the countries I've actually lived in. And the truth is, my parents were hippies. And the truth is, my parents were hippies. And my mom was pregnant, and my parents decided that they were going to go live off the land, back to the land, all that. So they moved to northern British Columbia, and they started building a shelter. They used a hand saw and it's actually called a bow saw. That's what I call it anyway, and an axe and hatchet, and they were building it on the side of a cliff, so that the roof was be on the side of the cliff. And well, it was getting near winter, and they had already built the structure, and it was sound, it was warm, it was comfortable. They had caulked the walls with mud and grass and whatnot, and and anyway, so one day my daddy, he was outside, he was trying to get some snow moved out of the way, because he had just killed himself an elk, and so they were going to have a lot of good food. And anyway, my mother screamed. So my daddy, he goes running back inside the shelter, and my mother was about to give birth to me. She's popping. And anyway, she screams and she screams, and finally I pop out, and she screamed as I popped out, and then all of a sudden there was a rumble. And the snow from on top of the mountain just came over the side of the cliff, and my daddy, he grabbed me as I came out and threw me underneath the little structure they had built as a bed, and as the structure collapsed, and he there was a little air pocket under there, and the bodies of my parents helped keep me warm. And sometime or not long after that, this pack of wolves that lived in the area, they came sniffing around. They ate what was the elk, but well, they did wind up eating my parents too. But they had to eat something, right? And they were dead already. Anyway, so but they left the bones. They didn't chew on my parents' bones. But that wolf pack adopted me. One of the alphas, or the alpha wolf, he picked me up by the scruff of my neck, and he carried me off and took me to where they had their den. and I stayed nice and warm in there. I drink wolf milk and everything, and they raised me. And I didn't know how to speak any human language. I spoke wolf. I still speak wolf quite fluently. Every 2 or 3 years I go back, and I go back with my old pack. I spend a few months with them, and we hang out, and they tell me stories about their lives. I tell them stories about mine, although they find stories about my life to be odd, and they really don't believe me. They don't believe there are such things as computers, and they know there are electric lights, but they don't understand the concept. And then when they see me like wearing glasses, it really freaks them out. They also don't understand that concept. But anyway, so I was the way that I came to be with humans was I was 14 or 15 years old, and some human hunters noticed that there was what they thought was a human child living with this pack of wolves. So they contacted the Canadian government officials in the area, and they didn't believe them at first, but eventually they went ahead. The hunters went back out, took some pictures, and then took those photographs to the RCMP. The RCMP sent the information to wildlife officials, and they eventually went, and it took them another couple of years before they were able to capture me. But they did capture me, and I spent some time locked away because I would gnash my teeth at the humans. I was scared to death of humans because humans are a very dangerous animal. And so anyway, after a few years, I started to speak human, and I started to speak human, and they would have me live in different situations with humans to learn how to do human things. And but long story short, like I said, eventually I learned to live like a human, even though I still am not human. I consider myself, and will always consider myself, a wolf. But because I am, because that's how I was raised. And like I said, every couple of years or so, I go back and spend some time with my pack, and see the new pups and yearlings and whatever, and then I come back and live with humans. And I've always thought about just going back and living with my pack permanently, which is probably a good idea, but I don't know. But that's my story, and I hope you believe it because it's true.